Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Ash vs. the Evil Dead Season 1, Episode 1, The Pilot. I watched this a couple of years back after it got canceled. And see, I have a funny story when it comes to like how I got into the Evil Dead. Before I watched the show before I ever watched the movies. And so when I watched the show, I had no idea what was going on. Like, literally no idea. So, like, but it's ironic because back in the very second Spider-Man movie, the one that made by Sam Raimi, a lot of people are like, oh, classic Sam Raimi when Doc Ock came, like, woke up and everything, the tentacles came alive. I'm just like, what the world are they talking about? Like, I knew who Bruce Campbell was and Sam Raimi and stuff like that. But I never knew anything about Ash versus Evil Dead or Evil Dead, whatever that was. So like, when I looked it up online, I skimmed it because I was like in a rush. So I was reading little bits here and there, and I misread it. And I was like, oh, okay, they combined a character named Ash from one property and the Evil Dead from another property and just combined into a TV show. I assumed that. Boy, was I wrong. See, that's why you should never rush through reading and stuff. And I'm like, oh, cool, Lucy's in there. I haven't saw her since like Xena days and stuff. And so when I watched the show, I'm just like, oh, I'm so confused. And so I looked it up online. I'm like, oh, so this is what this is about. Then I watched the first two movies. I have yet to see the third. I'm about to watch the third very soon. And like, I love the movies. My God, they are awesome. I actually prefer the first one better because it's more horror and less comedy. I know a lot of people love the comedy because that's what the Evil Dead franchise is known for. But sometimes all that slapstick stuff can kind of take away from it, I think. And I just prefer being more quiet and still and watching all the gore and stuff. And it has a very unique feel and look to it. And this pilot, when I was watching it, I was like, this episode seems so much different from the rest of the series. And I just couldn't figure out why until I saw who directed it. Sam Raimi, the man himself. So he tried to emulate what he did over 30 years ago with the movie and stuff. And so, and it worked so well, especially in the modern twist. Yeah, there was still comedy in it, but it wasn't like that bad. Some jokes don't always land, but it was pretty good. And I really love when they got to like the horror stuff because it didn't even feel like a TV horror. It felt like a movie. The atmosphere, the lighting, the pacing, the fear on people's like face, the light coming from the window. It was just like awesome looking. It's too bad he couldn't direct the entire series. It's a great series, but it just felt more like an action comedy with some horror in it than actual horror with other stuff in it. And so, like, this takes place with Ash Williams, 30 years later after he saved the world from all the evil, demonic stuff. And he's getting ready to go out, get some drinks, and find himself a lady. And so, like, well, the TV show is filmed in New Zealand. And, the movies are filmed in America. Because that's the thing that Sam Raimi and Robert Tabbert always does. They film constantly, like in New Zealand. It's like they're home away from home and stuff. And I was actually surprised to find out that these shows are only 10 episodes and like 20, 30 minutes. I was like, that's really short. But then again, they are known for doing that. Like in Hercules and Xena and Legend of the Seeker, those were hour-long shows. But Young Hercules, Cleopatra 2525, and Jack of all trades, starring Bruce Campbell, were all like 20, 30-minute shows. And so Ash, he finds himself a woman. He lies to her to get in her pants. He's clickety-clacking to her. And all of a sudden, she turns into a deadite. And he's just like, whoa. And so, like, he wants to bolt. But then she turns back human. He's all like, I need to finish this up. But he's freaked out as he's doing it. So then he's just kind of like, he don't understand. Like, how did this happen? He hasn't seen none of this stuff in over 30 years. So when he heads back to his trailer and everything, he looks at the Necronomicon. Oh, that's a hard thing to say. And he sees that there's a page bookmarked in there with weed. And he's just kind of like, huh. So he has a flashback. remembering what happened. He met a woman who has like a tattoo name on her arm. And then him and her, they got high, and he's all like, "Oh, you think that's fancy writing on your wrist? Well, then I got something for you." And then he reads from the book, which we all know brings the Deadites back to the land of the living and stuff. So he's like, "Crap." So he's all like, he don't want to deal with this stuff, man. He dealt with this stuff 30 years ago, and he is done. Lost his hand and everything. So he's heading to work just to get his paycheck and bolt. But he has to work. And it's there we meet two main stars. Pablo, who's this kind of this awkward, weird guy who kind of looks up to Ash, thinks he's the coolest. And Pablo has a friend named Kelly who's smoking hot. And Ash tries to get in her pants and be like, but she rejects him and stuff because of the age difference. And so as they're there, all craziness starts to happen. It looks like there's a tornado outside and stuff, or a hurricane, but without the rain. And so Ash is in the back, and well, I cracked up laughing with this little, what is it, like a doll, a China doll, whatever them things are. And that doll came to life, cracked me up when she started attacking Ash and everything. I have to say, some of the CGI in this season, the first season, isn't the best. I would assume that this CGI would have been amazing because, it's been 30 years and time has advanced. Not only that, but Legend of the Seeker has some pretty good CGI. So I was very disappointed when some shots clearly look super digital and stuff. And Pablo ends up saving him. And when he was like trying to get in Kelly's pants, she tells him, he makes a reference to her mom. And she tells him straight up that her mom died like a week or two ago and stuff. So as this craziness is going on and the Deadites are like heading to Ash's place, workplace, he heads back home to like gather his stuff and just get on out of there. And so like Kelly is watching a video, a Snapchat like type thing, FaceTime with her dad. And the setup was so eerie, the way she was just watching it on her phone. And like her dad, the way he was saying like some strange stuff is happening, and then the door opens and it's her dead mom. Like this, the way Sam Raimi set that up was like beautiful and stuff. So Kelly's freaked. She tells Pablo she has to get home and everything. And so they race back as fast as they can on his motorcycle. Now, there's one part I did leave out. The part that I mentioned before, the cops. There's a cop named Amanda, and she is investigating something like a strange 911 call with her partner. They're two detectives, but apparently a lot of homicide stuff's been going on over there. So they're there, he has a shotgun, she has a handgun, and they're walking into this old creepy house. Now, the rest of the series is filmed somewhat brightly, pretty like sharp, like coloration and stuff. But when they go in this house, it's dingy, it's old, it's dusty. There is a light shining from the outside. Don't know where that light's coming from because it's nighttime. And they're slowly just creeping through the house, and there's like deer antlers on like the wall, tons of them. And they're just walking, looking for the lady, and she has her back turned to them. And they tell her, get her hands up. She's crying. Mascara is running all down her face. And then we see her wrist, that same tattoo writing from the woman Ash read the book with. And she's saying something weird. Like, I don't know exactly what she's saying. And so, like, the lady face turns into a deadite, and she turns it around Exorcist style, and then oh boy, like she went demonic on their behinds, and she starts chasing them backwards. I love the way Sam Raimi makes his demons walk that staggered kind of way, which we know why he did it in the first one. Sometimes it was just like a prop, other time it was people. It just looks creepy and deranged and freaky and stuff. And so they're like, she's trying to like kill them. They're firing shots at her. Her partner, the cop lady hits the ground. The partner shoots the demonic lady in the head, half her face blows off, so he thinks it's all over. But then she rises up with her face still half blown off, and then she throws him into like the antlers, and he dies. And then the cop lady, she blows the rest of that person's head off. Blood is splattered everywhere. This is old school horror. When you shoot somebody, their head basically just like explodes, right? And then so the camera start panning around. Her partner is now gone from the antlers on the wall. So now she's looking for her partner. He's on the ceiling, crawling around. So she has to like kill him and everything. She is freaked out. Time passes. She's in a diner. The rest of the cops won't look at her. The waiter. See, Sam Raimi and Robert Tabbert, they love doing this. They love bringing back old characters from something and just making them into a new character. Because that same waiter was a SWAT officer in the finale of season 3. And so, like, the other cops won't talk to her. They think she's crazy. They tell her basically she made all this horror stuff up. To the point where she goes back to that house and she's looking around and she sees the shirt of her partner and she knows she didn't make it up and she's not crazy. But at the diner we see Ruby. We don't know she's Ruby. We have no idea who she is. She's just a stranger played by Lucy herself. And so back with the other gang, they head to Ash's place. They tell him, hey man, we need your help, blah, 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 stuff like that. He's all like, whatever, man, I'm done with this crap. And then next thing you know, the old lady, next door neighbor, she's a demon now. And she attacks all of them. And Ash, he goes to work, rip off his shirt. He has his, the Evil Dead outfit that he always wears when he fights these demons for some bizarre reason. And so, like, he gets his boomstick. He gets his chainsaw and he literally goes to town on her. And a very cool action montage. And then when he chops her head off with the chainsaw as he's flying through the air, like blood just splattered everywhere on the other characters. And they're just like, what in the world just happened? And then so like he tells them, you know, he has to go see a guy about this evil book and everything. So they go with him. And then they ask him, how does it feel after all these years doing this again? And of course, he hits his one-liner. Groovy. Oh, that was such a good pilot, man. It's a great way to get into the series and stuff. This is a true show to watch. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. You'll love it. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.